Welcome you all to today's topic, The Happy Prince of Class 9. My dear student, don't you think from the title itself it's a beautiful story and that to be a story of a happy prince? Now let us see how this story and how this prince is happy. There is a beautiful quote: help one person might not change the whole world, but it could change the world for one person. Don't you think it's a very beautiful quote telling a lot of things to us? Yes. Now see the image. The Happy Prince, written by Oscar Wilde. Now let us see something or learn something about Oscar Wilde. So Oscar Wilde was born on 16th October 1854, Westland Road, Dublin, Ireland. He died on 30th November 1900, Paris, France. He was an Anglo-Irish playwright, novelist, poet, and critic. He is regarded as one of the greatest playwrights of the Victorian era. In his lifetime, he wrote 9 plays, 1 novel, and numerous poems, short stories, and essays. Now let us see the story. The Happy Prince is a story by Oscar Wilde. It is about the story of a statue, the Happy Prince, which is covered with gold and many fine jewels. It sits overlooking the city. One day, a swallow, means a bird, seeks shelter under the statue and discovered the prince not happy but sad. The bird slowly and slowly becomes friendly with the prince and tries to make him happy by assisting him in his desire to ease the suffering of others. So slowly and slowly they both became friends, and the bird helped this happy prince to fulfill his desire. So it plucks out the ruby, the sapphire and other fine jewels from the statue and delivered them to those who are poor and needy. So as I told you, a bird named Swallow came under this statue and it took shelter, and slowly this both became friends, and in this way the bird helped the Happy Prince. The story of Happy Prince dwells upon the themes like social injustice, redemptive power of love, and the loss of innocence. In this story, we come across a statue who at one time was a real prince. When the prince was alive, he was a happy prince. He lived in a palace and he did not know about human suffering. His life was full of joys, but upon his death, his statue was built at the top of the tall column in the city. The statue was covered all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes, he had 2 bright sapphires and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. So this is all about the statue, which was made up of many jewels. The statue of the Happy Prince looked beautiful, and everyone in the city loved to see their prince. Since he was placed above the city on a tall column, the prince was able to witness all the sorrows and suffering. So this statue was made in a height. It was kept in a height so that he can see all over the place where there is suffering, where the people, how they live. So what happened? But the prince remained ignorant of them during his lifetime. So when he was a prince, when he was in reality, he ignored everyone. But right now he can see all the sufferings all over the place. So this made the prince once happy and very sad. His eyes got watered and large drop of tears began to run down his golden cheeks. So after looking all the sufferings of the people, he started crying. A little swallow who had alighted between the feet of Happy Prince to spend the night there became curious to know where did the drops of water fall from. He looked up and saw the eyes of Happy Prince full of tears. So here this bird, during night when the bird was sleeping, there was drop of water, and this bird, in search, in curiosity, thought that from where does this drop of water falling, and when she turned up she can feel that the king or the prince is crying. So she tried to know what is the reason behind these tears. The bird took pity on the prince and became ready to assist him in his desire to ease the suffering of the common people. So he became the messenger of the prince and agreed to remove the fine gold and jewels from his statue to distribute them among the poor and needy. So this prince one by one helped all the needy person, and this bird became the messenger. He removed all the gold from the body of this happy prince and tried to take to the person who is very needy. He started with plucking this ruby from the prince's swords and giving it to the seamstress who had no money to feed her ailing child. Then he plucked a sapphire from one of the eyes of the statue and gave it to the playwright who was too poor to make fire in the winter. So one by one, each and every person get the precious element from this happy prince through this bird. He was also very hungry and feeling weak. One day, the prince saw a match girl who was being beaten by her father for letting her matches fall in the gutter. The prince's heart filled with pity for the girl, and he immediately commanded the swallow to pluck out his other eye and help the girl. See how this kind-hearted person is. But the swallow was not ready to do so because this would make the prince completely blind. On being insisted, he plucked out the prince's other eye, swooped past the match girl and slit the jewel. So he snatched away, he removed the one eye and he went to the girl and gave it into the palm of her hand. The little bird decided not to leave the company of Happy Prince who had gone blind now. Although the prince was not able to see the sorrows or sufferings anymore, he knew it was there. So he instructed the bird to take off the fine gold he was covered with and give it to the poor. The bird followed his words and picked off leaf after leaf of the gold till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. Then the snow came and the poor little swallow grew older and colder. But he did not leave the prince. Eventually, he grew weak and died from exposure and exhaustion. Just at that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue as if something had broken. So, my dear student, as one by one, when the king was looking the suffering of the people, he used to command the bird that go and take away this gold and give it to the needy person so that he can live happily. And a day comes where all the golds, all the elements were removed from his body and there was a crackling sound. And do you know what happened? It was in fact the leaden heart that had snapped right into two at the loss of the sweet and kind swallow. The statue was no more beautiful and useful. It stood deserted, so the town councillors and the mayor pulled it down. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. So what happened when there was a crack in the statue and the bird was dead? They both were burned. When God asked one of his angels to bring the two most precious things in the city, the angel brought him the leaden heart and the dead bird. God welcomed the two in his garden of paradise and deemed them beautiful creation. I hope, my dear student, you loved this video. I hope you will definitely go back to your books, turn the pages and try to find out the curiosity and this thing which is going on in your heart and mind. I know you will turn your page and read all the lines thoroughly. If you have any queries, comment, feedback, do comment on my chat box. Thank you all.